Welcome to the Florida Real Estate and Entrepreneur Podcast, where we interview the best and the brightest business and real estate leaders. Our mission is to inspire and help 1,000 entrepreneurs to start and succeed in real estate and entrepreneurship. We will give you the exact playbook to succeed in your business through the experience of those who blaze the path. We're bringing the what's working today directly to you. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Florida Real Estate and Entrepreneur Podcast. I have the most amazing guest today, Cody Hofhine, who is a leader in the real estate space. The guy has done so much. He's most well known for his time at Wholesaling Inc, which he was a co-founder of. And he has Joe Homebuyer franchises, which are investment companies all around the nation that are doing probably thousands of deals, all with Cody's leadership. Man, welcome to the show.
Well, that was a kind welcome and introduction. It's an honor to be here. I'm excited to be here. We spoke recently just at Family Mastermind, and I was listening to a few. Even Tom, my former business partner, was on here just recently. I think even just the most recent podcast, if I remember.
Yep.
Right. So, yeah, this is an honor to be on here. So thank you for having me.
Cool, man. I'm super pumped to have you, but I want to just, for the people listening to this, like, what is your origin story? How did you end up in this space? Where did you come from? Like, if somebody said, tell your story, what would you tell them?
Holy smokes. Well, let me give you a little background, like, story that will kind of lead to straight today. So me growing up, I always had the entrepreneurial bug. I grew up, I was blessed to have a family that was entrepreneurs. My dad was an entrepreneur. He was a general contractor, and he did like the commercial space. And so he put me to work, not child labor law work, but I was grateful that I got to work with him from 8 years old. I was in the job site picking up screws, picking up nails, and he'd pay me penny per nail, and you'd dump the bucket and pick it up again. And you'd just find ways to just help my dad. And then I worked with him my whole entire life, all the way up till 2009 when the market crashed. So it was, commercial died off pretty dang quick in Utah. And my dad, one of his business overnight, I'd say 90% of his business was no longer his business. And so that led me to take this entrepreneurial leap for myself. And of all things, I started insurance. Why? I don't know. But other than when you look back hindsight, you see that God does connect these dots. But why did I pick it at the time? Who knows? And it produced two challenges instantly. This is something that insurance produced for me. Number one was it takes a long time to make money. And the second one was it was something I really never got passionate about. I was doing decent. I'd sell a lot of policies, but you don't make much money on the policies. But it was never like, oh man, I love this policy and you're going to love it too. Like, you can't get passionate about insurance. But it did bring me two gifts. The gifts that it brought me was I started insuring a ton of real estate investors. And so that's how I kind of segueing into it. This is how I even got into insurance in the first place. And you start to see, like I said, God connecting the dots on why I had to get into insurance. I was insuring the top names. One of the individuals that we were talking about before we started the podcast, Andy McFarland. And so the second gift from insurance was coming home 5 years into this, 5 years into doing insurance and still not having enough money. And my wife is at the table. She's crying. And I'm like, what's up? And she finally looks up and crying enough that her mascara is rubbed around like raccoon eyes, right? And she's like, we still don't have enough money. And gosh, it kind of gives me a little bit, I don't do this on every podcast for whatever reason. I'm already filling the story out like I'm there again. She just looked up kindly. And she was the most supportive woman, and just so good with being a good steward of the very little money we had anyways, and stretching the buck and being a coupon cutter and all that stuff. But to see her just brokenhearted, wondering, do we pay for the mortgage? Do we pay for food on the table? I don't know if we have enough money for both. And man, it made me instantly just, she didn't make me feel like a failure. I felt like it. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm failing my family. I'm 5 years into this entrepreneurship journey and it's still not enough. Here's the blessing though. 2 days later, I'm at a local real estate investor association meeting. And believe it or not, it's actually Andy McFarland that's speaking that night. I had insured all of his homes, autos, and rentals. And he stands up and he says, hey, I found this deal. And 3 days later, I sold it and made $27,000. And I was like, what? 3 days? I don't even make that in 365 days. And he's making this in 3 days. And I went up after him and talked to him afterwards. And he told me, he's like, yeah, you could totally do this. You'd be great at it. from that conversation, 39 days later, I ended up finding my first deal, and I did a deal that paid me in 39 days. It paid me $24,000. And
Wow.
when that money hit my bank account, oh, I don't know why I'm getting emotional. Maybe it's tied to this post I just did about my little daughter that I just love dearly. Gosh, when it hit my bank account, it was like, oh my gosh, not only does it work, like it worked for Cody Hofhine. It was an amazing feeling, right? And from there, I started doing like 2 to 3 deals instantly, like a month. Like it was just like this quick, like, oh my gosh, I can do this. And then that's all I needed was that little bit of like, that little bit of courage, that little bit of faith, that little bit of, you got this, you did it. And then it was like game on, like, let's go. I found a way to do something that's faster than insurance, but is going to be funner, like something I can get passionate about. And so I'm out there doing that. And I started telling a good friend who's now my business partner, Mark Stubler, about it. I said, bro, you got to try this. Like I just did this. And he goes out and tries this same process that I did, and it works for him. And so in 2015, we get together and we were like, let's partner on this. Like, let's build a business out of this, something that could be big. That first year we did over $1 million, and it was like
Wow.
game
What year
changing,
was
right? Like
this?
this is 2015, and it
Wow.
was like the first year. And so we had all these people that had been in it like 10 years, 15 years, like, who are these two kids? Like, where did they come from? And how did they just bounce up here this quick? We were just driven, and we were fine with failing our way forward and just making a ton of mistakes and just having a fun time along the way. And man, it just didn't even feel like work because we were just both becoming better financially. We were being challenged a lot better than the corporate America job he had, and way better than sitting in a button down shirt in the insurance office. Like it was just so much better. So we ended up partnering. And then in 2016, I co-founded Wholesaling Inc. with Tom Kroll, and we coached over 3,500 students nationwide. I'm one of those people, like, when something works for me, I have a hard time holding it in. I'm a very abundant man. And so I wanted to get into that coaching space. We founded that. We helped so many people do their first deal. And it was so fun, man. I think the coach learns more than the student anyways. And we go out and do all that. And then we sold that in about 2020. But prior to that, in 2019, me and Mark were doing these 3-day workshops called Scale in our office. And we wanted to show people how to not just do their first deal, but for those that are already doing deals, how can you scale this to a 7-figure business? And we started having this blueprint that was just working for the people that would come out and do it. And we're like, let's turn this into a business. And so in 2019, Joe Homebuyer was born. Shortly after I sold my stake in Wholesaling Inc. in 2020. And then here we are today. So Joe Homebuyer is born. It's what we call kind of like the $1 million blueprint, where we're helping people like names like Jerry Norton. He owns 10 of our franchises, and we're helping him
Wow.
scale all of his businesses across the nation. And he's doing very, very well. Brent Daniels, the now owner of Wholesaling Inc.,
Yep.
famous for TTP. He's a franchise owner doing magnificent things. We've helped him just continue to grow in one of the hardest markets of Arizona. And it's just been a beautiful thing to partner with great people. And that's where we're at today.
That's incredible. Would you mind sharing the story about your daughter?
Oh, yeah. For those that want to see a post of it, I mean, they can. It's just go to Cody Hofhine. I just happened to post. I'm a vulnerable guy. Like, the world isn't unicorns and rainbows, and I want people to know that. I think sometimes we show all the winnings, and we very rarely show the flaws, the things that are hard. And so I wanted to make sure I showed people the hard. And so here was the hard. It was just a cute little picture of just my wife and my daughter. And
Yep.
what we did is I just put magnifying the wins over the flaws. Parenting's not easy. It's very hard, but it's also on the other side of that coin. It's the greatest place for personal development. Like, you can become someone better by being a parent. You have to. It requires your best. And so Harper, she's like her dad. She's the busy one, wants to make people laugh, always needs to be moving around. And in school, those traits really aren't the ones that are rewarded, right? You got to sit still. You got to be able to raise your hand. You got to be quiet. And so I'm not saying there's anything bad with school, but it just doesn't fit her traits, her natural traits that are big, energetic traits like me. And so naturally, it's not a rewarded trait. And so it comes across as, hey, behavioral issues, or it comes across as, hey, she's a disturbance to the class. And so we set up a little thing, and we've had so many talks with her, and just said, hey, but in this setting, we've got to control these great emotions, because I don't want to kill her curiosity. She's such a curious little girl. She's I'm going to tear up my friend by doing this, but she's so curious, and I don't want to kill that curiosity. But we got a report, and it showed like green dots, green dots, green dots, and then a couple yellow dots. And instead of focusing on those yellow dots and where she could get better, we took her out to go get ice cream to just celebrate her greens.
Yeah,
and that picture says it all.
Man.
She was just smiling. She felt good, and my lessons learned were, if you make people, when you help people feel good, they'll go out and do good. People want to do good. They don't want to do bad. And so I'm always taught that when we focus on the good, they tend to want to go out and do good. And so since then, she's had a couple of days of green lights again. And it's just amazing. And then, like I said, those parents that are out there having the same thing, detach yourself from any kind of outcome. That because a teacher says, hey, it's a disturbance, like detach yourself from the normal. It's okay. It's okay that it's a disturbance, because Harper's going to be someone that's going to change the world. She's going to change lives for the better. And those gifts will come into play at a later time when they're going to be true blessings to people's lives.
That's so incredible, man. School today is an interesting thing. School, sports, the teachers are like, they're kind of like not allowed to, I don't know, coach and mentor the same way we were coached and mentored in school. They can't call people out individually. It's a different world we live in. But the thing that's fascinating to me is, first off, my position in our household is my wife Jenny and I, we own our kids' education. We're the ones responsible, not the teachers.
So spot on.
I believe there's value in public school personally. And the reason I believe that is because it teaches you a ton of social skills that are as critical to your growth as a human as your intellectual skills of learning and getting an A or a B. And I have two totally different kids. My son is just a brainiac. He's a really smart kid. He's kind of jittery and moving around all the time. And this is when I was growing up, the rules were like, you bring A's home or you're going to get punished. For my son, it's a little different. I'm like, well, you're super smart. So the only reason you wouldn't get an A is because you didn't put in the effort. So long as I see you putting in the effort, I'm totally good with the outcome.
Yeah.
Cause I know what you're capable of. Now, if you're getting below A's and something's hard, like then we could talk about why that is. But at the end of the day, like I know I'm parenting on his personality. I know he's smart. I know he's intellectually just like a really, really good kid. Now, my daughter, on the other hand, is smart, but in a different way. She's got a little more street smart. She's got a little more social IQ. So we're not like harping on her grades because that's not where her genius zone is.
So
right?
True.
So we just have like different focuses for our kids based on their personalities and their capabilities. And we actually control a lot because I get really concerned. Like you told me that about your daughter, and the biggest risk in that situation is other people putting labels on her.
Yeah.
Like you're a bad kid. You move around too much. You don't know how to listen. Those may not be true.
Yeah.
And those will stifle those great traits you talked about. She's energetic like you. She's got a great personality and she wants to always be outward. Like those are not bad things. Those have served you well and many other people just like you who have these gargantuous personalities and people love them. Tony Robbins has a gargantuous personality.
Absolutely, he does.
I didn't think we would talk parenting, but you kind of got me on that one. I'm passionate about that.
It's just a beautiful thing, right? It's just what happens to that inner child as we go through life and start to catch, and some of life rubs off on us, right? When we were born, we wanted to be a pirate of all things, or we wanted to be like, what's that? Let's be that inner pirate. Everyone's like, oh, you can't be a pirate. You need to be an accountant. Now, I have nothing against accountants, by the way. I'm just throwing out like a typical job out there. It's like, why don't we find that inner pirate again? Why don't we find that kid that dreamed and had no holdbacks? Why don't we find that inner like child that was so naive to the world that wanted to go live on Mars, just dream big, and then somehow we catch a lot of stuff that limits what we'll actually be capable of doing. And I'm grateful you parent the way you do. We try to do much the same thing. We try to continue to nurture and nourish that curiosity so that they end up doing big things, not just follow the normal. They got to do big things, and doing big things needs their curiosity. So I'm not going to kill it.
You absolutely can't. And kudos to you for being a great parent and father. Joe Homebuyer, I want to talk about your $1 million blueprint. And So you have this $1 million blueprint. Obviously, you and your partner, you guys scale, and it's like you guys are, this is going bonkers in Utah, which by the way is like not the easiest place to do real estate, where it's very competitive. I think next to Arizona, you guys have some of the other biggest names in the industry, right?
Yep.
So you come out of left field and, you know, you got the Andys and the other people just like Andy all in that state. And
they're all great people. This is the thing. You're competing against some of the best human beings in the world as a friend as well, right? Like, it's not like arrogant competition. It's like, oh man, if I'm going to lose a deal, I guess I'll lose it to Andy because that guy's incredible. I love him.
Yeah. So good. Okay. You get this blueprint. Like, what's the magic of this blueprint? And then what is Joe Homebuyer? So you like, what's the magic of the blueprint? And then how does it become Joe Homebuyer? Like, what is Joe Homebuyer? Like, if I said I want to be a Joe Homebuyer in my area, what would that be? What is that?
It's awesome. So great question. I would say our biggest avatar that's looking at us is someone, it's not the beginning stages, right? There's so many great coaches, and you even coach, right? Even the beginner, like someone that's like looking to do their first deal. I saw your mission is to get 1,000 entrepreneurs in the game of real estate, which I say kudos to you, my friend. This is amazing. Ours is, how do we get them now from the excellent training out there, the coaches out there? How do we turn it into a business? How do we grow this? Because what I've seen multiple times, I almost was part of it, was we were growing this business, but then we didn't know, well, so we thought. We were doing a lot of revenue, but it really wasn't a business. We had to wake up and every month it started over at zero. A business is when it's serving you versus you always serving it. And so there was times where we felt like we were burning the candles on every end and even in the middle, right? And it's like, we're going on the appointments, we're doing the disposition, we're doing the marketing, we're doing this. And then you hire someone and you don't like it. And so you let them go, and then you do this, and then you do this, and then you hire someone again. And then you're like, oh man, they don't get it. No one loves it the way I love it. So they fire them. And this is this circle. And so we see this still today. Our avatar is hitting ceilings like we hit ceilings. Everyone's going to hit a ceiling. They either hit a ceiling, they're going to hit a ceiling, or they've already hit the ceiling. Like it's just a circle. We're always going to have different ceilings throughout our business. First ceiling hits around $250,000 to $500,000. And that ceiling is meant for us to do two things. Figure out what's the skill set that we lack to get to the next level, and challenge our current belief system. What's holding us back? Have we taken time to journal our money story? Some people think they'll never get to $1 million because their parents told them, maybe not told them, sorry, let me say that again. Maybe they caught through their parents, or maybe they caught through school, or maybe they caught through their neighborhood that you're just a normal person. Like, we don't make millions of dollars. We're just kind of the people that are happy to have what we have. And you catch some of this stuff, and you now have this limiting belief that you can even grow $1 million business. Well, that's not true. The truth is there is a process. There is a blueprint. It's like Warren Buffett says, learn the rules of the game and play by those rules better than anyone else. That's what Joe Homebuyer is all about, is that process, that blueprint that they can tap into, the skill development that they're lacking to break through that ceiling. And then more importantly, the leadership development. That is more than anything. Jim Rohn said it best when he says, rarely does a man's income exceed their level of personal development. Meaning, if we can work on us and become better individuals, business and money actually follows us. It chases us versus us chasing money.
That's incredible. So these guys come in, they get to become a Joe, apply, they become a Joe Homebuyer. You give them the blueprint, the frameworks, all the tools and stuff they need. And you you're basically still coaching these guys and showing them the path, I imagine then.
Absolutely. Like today's Thursday. Thursday is personal development call. I host that one. So that's my baby. I love personal development more than I love real estate. And so I get on a half hour every Thursday and we go over some kind of personal development, but it's not just like thanks for the awesome message. No, it's like action based. Like today we did, we pulled out a journal. I said, guys, we're going to do something different today. Pull out your journals. And I said, I want you to write down 3 things you're grateful for. They all took time to write down 3 things they're grateful for. I said, okay, now I want 3 things. I want you to ask yourself, question number 1, how can you show up better for God? And they took a moment and just wrote that. And then I said, how can you show up better for yourself? And they took a moment and wrote on that. And then how can you show up better for your family? That was today's half-hour call. And then we shared. I said, who wants to get vulnerable and share how they're going to show up better for God or themselves or family? And we had this beautiful conversation of everyone just getting vulnerable and sharing things. There were some tears flowing. Like it was just awesome, because when you journal and you do the work that actually matters, what you're doing is you're getting yourself better awareness. Better awareness leads to better choices. Better choices leads to better results. And business is really simple. We kind of are, well, we're the bottleneck. The neck is at the top. The top is the problem. It's us, right? And so it's simple. It's not easy. It's simple. And so it's just, what can we do every day that allows us to get better awareness? Because when we have better awareness, we make better choices. When we make better choices, we have better results.
Yeah, that's super impactful. I think, you go through this evolution, right? You kind of, first you get your mind opened. You see something, you see other people doing something. You're like, holy cow, I can't, that guy's like, Cody's normal. He's just like me. Like he puts his pants on in the morning and you're like, I can't.
One leg at a time. I still haven't figured out the dive in. I still haven't been able to dive into them.
Well, it recalibrates your belief, right? And I go, oh my gosh. And then your mind gets opened and then you go into this world of the Wholesaling Inc. or 7-figure flipping. And you start to see all these normal people doing these things. And you start to ask yourself, like, can I do that? Like, I feel like I can do that. Then you take the dive in and you get lost. You get lost in the minutia and the day to day. And where I see me personally, where I see the most successful people, the friends of mine, people like you, people like Andy, like they always take a moment to regain their awareness. Like, where am I today? I need to recenter and see what else is possible because I'm stuck too far into the minutia of the day to day. And and I think after a while of like seeing a lot of this stuff, you start to feel like, I don't need any more of the like motivational stuff or the woo woo stuff, but you really do because mindset, I'm a pretty like logical, just get it done guy. But even me, like sometimes I need to hear these things. Like I should be writing those 3 things down and taking stock of what am I grateful for in my faith? What am I grateful for in my family, in my business? Like, what are these things? And sometimes just recentering like that can unlock your mind and help you to move forward in your business. I know it seems so kind of crazy and it's a soft skill. In the military, we talk about soft skills and hard skills. A hard skill would be like shoot, move, and communicate. A soft skill would be like I go sit down with a local leader in a foreign country and be able to help them install and work through problems that they're having in their political infrastructure. Like those are personal skills. Those are soft skills. So self-development can be soft skills at times. And I think we shouldn't lose sight of that because it's still skill development. Like you said, it's leadership development.
Yeah. I have a mentor that does 2 hours a day. 2 hours a day he sets apart just for ideas on his business. 2 hours a day. Like, wow. That's a question that all listeners listening to this, just ask yourself, how many minutes do you set apart where it's like, it's dedicated, it's in your calendar, it's stamped. This is the time where I'm going to be thinking about my business, having ideas, right? This is what he does every single day, 2 hours a day, and has told me this. And this is something I've done now for a few years is
that's powerful.
2 hours a day I set aside where I use that time for my family, but I also use it, for my business, but I also use it for my family. Why am I able to be present better today than I was 3 or 4 years ago? It's because I'm not just letting the day happen anymore. It's very intentional because with intent comes that awareness. The awareness leads to choices. The choices leads to results. And so I'm able to do these things because I take time to come up with the ideas to execute.
That's so cool. And it's great that, you get an opportunity to impart this on all your Joe Homebuyer people. And, they're getting better and growing because of that. So for these people who are maybe kind of stuck and hitting that ceiling and they know about Joe Homebuyer, they can reach out and just is there a call? Is there a place? Like how does a real estate investor today come and get into your world and potentially be a Joe Homebuyer?
Yeah. Sometimes I get it through a message through Instagram or through Facebook. Otherwise they'll come right in through, like a warm referral. Maybe it's a student you're aware of that you're like, oh my gosh, to go to the next level, I recommend doing this. So we have JV partners, or we have partners out there that are coaches that are helping the people doing their first deal. And they're like, hey, I did what I was supposed to do. Now here's the next level. So we have those soft referrals, those warm referrals that transfer. And then we're starting to, the brand awareness is growing. Like it's getting out there. You'd mentioned earlier how you own a title company and you're now helping one of our Joe Homebuyer franchises in Florida. And I'm excited to send you even more contacts in Florida. Yeah. We have about 6 or 7 in Florida right now. And so I'm excited to connect you with them. So Yes, there's multiple ways that we have to go throughout this, but really the brand awareness is what I'm really excited about. Is we're starting to see people actually Google us and fill out forms on our website, which, man, that takes a while. Like that's a big
Yeah.
feat when we got to that. But normally it's been just through warm referral from good contacts like yourself and all the other coaches out there, Jerry Norton, the Brent Daniels. We have great partnerships that send people that are ready for us our way.
That's super cool. Okay. So you go from crazy scale, $1 million business. You do that for a while. You get into Wholesaling Inc. You decide to make the Joe Homebuyer blueprint for others to bring those people up around you. What other things are you passionate about in your life? Like what else are you working on maybe outside of Joe Homebuyer?
Yeah, I still love things that are simplistic. I like simplifying my life. So I like always doing a internal check to make sure I'm not adding anything that would detract from or subtract from my current lifestyle. I spend a lot of time with my wife and kids, a lot of time. In fact, to the point where people be like, how do you even get work done? I'm really big on, there's a dear friend of mine that's done very well with his book launch, Buy Back Your Time. Dan Martell,
Yeah. Yep.
like he's been preaching this from the mountaintops of there's a way to maintain a lifestyle where you buy back your time. And so many people are like, oh, personnel is a cost. And it's like, or I hire people to build my business. And it's like, wrong idea. I hire people to buy back my time. And then I get to use my time to either make more money than what I'm paying out that person, or go use it the way I want to use it to enrich other people's lives. And me and my wife's relationship, I would say, in a confident way. I don't want this ever to be an arrogant way. Like, gosh, we're like a top 1% relationship, but we work at it super hard. It's not luck. It's we hang out. We're with each other's best friends. And so it's just, I love that she's my best friend. I'm her best friend. And so when I say yes to something outside of this, it has to fit with my current lifestyle. So one of them is me and my brother. I've just moved down to St. George, and it's a completely different market than Salt Lake, in the sense of you don't move here to get a job. You move here because you either own a business or you've exited a business or you're a high level exec that gets to work from home. But other than that, like, you're not moving to St. George to say, hey, I'm going to go find a job down there. Because of that, we got into some high end luxury homes where we're building these $5 million homes, and we're selling these to these individuals that are moving in from out of state, all these high level individuals. And so that has been incredible because it's simplistic, right? I don't want to build $500,000 homes. I just want to build one or two $5 million homes a year. And the profit on it is extremely profitable. And it allows me to still maintain family values, family time, and do the things I want to do versus just working because of work. I'm not addicted to work. I'm addicted to my family. And I just find ways to make money around that.
Yeah, man, there's some deep lessons there, some certainly that I can learn from. I find myself working quite a bit, but I also love to work, and I love to hang out with my family. But what's really cool is, like, it's not like you did real estate and then you quit doing real estate, you just became a coach. And then you always, you find yourself coming back to real estate in one form or the other, I think, for most people. And I have some personal beliefs around, like, why real estate is such a powerful tool for entrepreneurs to build wealth and make impact. And, it's unquestionable, actually, based on all the reasons why the United States allows it to be such a strong asset. So you said, I like real estate, but I really like helping people. You're still doing real estate, man. Like, you're still doing real estate. What's up with that?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's that one is a passion project with my brother. So my dad is now 74 years old. He'll be 75 January 13th. And he retired. And my brother worked for him his whole life. And so this is a passion project. Like, I want my brother to not just work, I want him to thrive. And so it's, again, everything's tied to, not real estate happens to be what I know, so I can attach that to it. But this one is Shane, my brother, is just one of my best friends. He's one of the greatest human beings. He's such a servant of delivering magic versus just getting in the game to be in the game. And we know people that just kind of get in the game. You're like, we know coaches out there that sell a product. And you're like, you didn't deliver magic. And whatever I've always done in life, I've always had the intent I'm not going to let it be in someone's hands unless it's magical. And so these, like, high level homes, I mean, they're the best of the best. I would put our home against any of the builders down here because I care about the outcome. I care about the client going in there and saying, wow, this is a magical experience, right? There's a difference between going to SeaWorld and going to Disneyland. One's just an amusement park and one delivers magic. Like there's a complete difference. And so I would just make sure whatever I do, that I'm not just going to do it because there's money to be made, that's always second. It's just, how can I serve more people and how can I deliver them something that's magical? And that's what we're doing behind that. So even though it's tied to real estate, that's what I know. But it really is because we want to develop a product that is magical, and it's a passion project because I love my brother dearly.
Yeah, that's super cool. What happened? So what'd your dad do after after kind of the crash, and his business obviously took a big hit at that time? What happened to him after that?
Yeah, God is good, meaning he wants to take care of all of us. And so they made it through. They had little shifts and pivots. In fact, Kevin O'Leary talks about the number one trait an entrepreneur can have is pivoting, because there's always change. That's guaranteed. So there's always going to be change. The product we sold for Joe Homebuyer in 2019 is not the product we sell today. Why? Because there's been a ton of change since 2019. And so we've had to learn to pivot. So my dad had to learn to pivot. He started doing a lot more residential remodels and things like that until those commercial accounts woke back up in like 2014. And then that kept him busy again. And he's been riding that wave for this last bull run. The bull's been awake for so long. So yeah, it's been good. But now he's like, I'm to the point I'm ready to just retire and enjoy my life. And so he's going to go do so. And I'm excited to do this new venture with my brother. It's going to be fun.
That's cool. Family affair, man. That's really awesome. Yeah, I didn't want to leave that part about your dad, a cliffhanger. It's like, hey, he came back up, man. He's got it.
He did.
He's got it going on over there.
Yeah, he's got to go figure out some things that he wants in life. Another note is I lost my mom a little over 3 years ago. This September would have been 3 years. And man, she was 68 years old. And so just taken way too young, meaning my dad lost his wife. And so he's trying to go figure out life, and he misses her dearly. And so I think this retirement's going to be good for him to truly heal from what's happened over the past 3 years.
Yeah, I think you find yourself in adversity and challenge. You just bury yourself where you're comfortable. And for a lot of men, that's in their work. You kind of bury your head in your work. Oftentimes your faith too, if that's where you're at. And you just look for the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. But yeah, that's I'm super happy for your dad that, he came through that crash. He made the pivots. He did okay. And two, he's got some good sons taking care of him over there.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a good dude. He deserves to be taken care of.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, first off, let me just tell you that I'm super grateful that you took the time to jump on here, spend, 30 or 40 minutes with me. You've got such a great story. You continue to make a big impact in our industry. You have a great reputation. Obviously, we have a lot of common friends who, think super highly of you. So it says a lot about what you've done in the industry and the impact you made, which I think ultimately is the kind of the goal, right? Like leave things better than you got them.
1,000%. I think that goes right in line with my current dear friend and mentor, Robin Sharma. It's always about just how can you serve as many people as possible? Money takes care of itself. It really does. If you wake up every day and just find a way to deliver magic and just serve as many people as possible, money somehow just magically takes care of itself, right? It's not a coincidence. So yes, I believe in that wholeheartedly, and I've been a student of that philosophy for many years now.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Well, if people want to follow you or get to know you more, where can they find you?
Yeah, please reach out to me on Instagram, where you can reach me at Cody Hofhine, and please don't hesitate. It is me that actually responds. So if you want to message me, it is me. And then you can reach out to me. I'm not good on Facebook, so that's not the best place, even though you'll see posts because it automatically posts there. And then obviously, if you're interested in looking at Joe Homebuyer and what that even looks like, you can learn more at joehomebuyerfranchising.com and Joe Homebuyer Franchising on Instagram. And I'm always doing stories on there and posting and going back and forth, but love to connect with people. So don't hesitate to reach out. If you ever have questions, always here to give information and serve people the best I can.
Dude, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Awesome show. People are going to love this one. And I'm grateful for you, man.
Hey, I'm grateful for you. And thank you for your service.
All right. Thanks for listening.